Why did I want to be in a band? Several reasons. First and foremost, I was approximately 13 years old watching my older brother Kyle Sanders play bass in a high school band, and they were covering Cheap Trick and Journey and Van Halen and Kiss. And I realized, wow, that looks fun, it's totally rad, and people want to come see that. And there's potential for female attention with a guitar strapped around your neck, or being in a band in general. I was like, that's the way to go in life. So at that moment, my brain did a sharp left-hand turn and took me down a new path in life. And looking back, I'm glad I made that rash decision. I remember thinking that we might have something special when within minutes of the four of us being in a practice space after we had met one another. Brent and myself had been in a band for 7 years prior to Mastodon. Bill and Brann were in a band in upstate New York together for 7 years as well. When we got together, and with the idea of the four of us coming together, we went down to someone's practice space, picked up gear, and just made noise for a couple minutes. No riff, no idea, no song, just kind of picking up, making some noise. And we could kind of tell that everybody knew their stuff, and we all shared the same idea of making music in the vein of 70s classic rock, with all the way up to like Neurosis, the Melvins, newer stuff. So to have four people aligned with the same intentions and desires, and everyone wanted to create some music and get in a van and bring it to people around the world, and not just sit around and wait for something good to happen to ourselves, it's pretty rare. So within a few minutes of being in a room with these three other guys, I knew that there was something special that had that would have some amazing potential, even though odds are stacked against you, and I realized that. But it was right away that I realized we had something that could be very, very special. That's a great question. I think about that daily. If I were not able to be in a band with these dudes, I would probably be one of three things. My backup plan was to be a postman, because I used to own postal pants, and I had an addiction to buying and mailing postcards. I would always have stamps and folded, beat-up postcards in my pockets at all times, and they were actual U.S. postal pants. So my bandmates gave me the nickname of Postman Sanders, and I kind of had a knack for it. I think I was pretty good. So I would be a postman, but that would probably be a short-lived career. Backup plan, sanitation worker. Ride on the back of a truck, get your exercise, picking up trash bins, feel the wind in your hair. Staying humble. I think being a trash man would keep you very grounded. Number 3, murder. I would commit murder and be either dead or locked up and presumed dead. So I'm very glad that the music thing worked out. Before we put music out, I do not feel anxious or nervous, and the reason being is that before the music comes out for the world to listen to and either like or loathe, I know that the four guys in the band are as happy as we can possibly be with it. So we create music for ourselves, and the four of us need to be very happy with it at all times, because we're the ones that are married to it, and we're the ones that go out and travel with this music and play it over and over and over. So we need to love it. And if the four of us love it and everyone else despises it, I'm okay with that, because this is our art. And I believe the truest way to make art is to do it on your own terms, to the best of your ability. And if you put your heart and your soul and all your time and effort and energy into your art, and you love it, then that's all that matters. Some tours just become very long, and that's a good thing, because we enjoy touring. That's why we do it so much. But a certain level of disconnect happens when you're just gone from your normal life. And when it gets to be over 2 months of a stretch while you're gone, you start to lose the passion for playing every night, because you have become so disconnected from your home life that it kind of puts you in a mental state where you feel like you're on another planet. That's the only time when I feel like, is this ever going to be over? But thankfully that hasn't happened in several years, because once these few 3-month-long tours happened in our band's existence, we realized to not ever do that again. So now we always will do a tour, whether it be 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time, come home for a minimum of a week or two, go back out, come back home, and keep that freshness and balance of home life and tour life. And I think that can help us sustain sanity for a long, long time. one of the best emotions I've ever felt on stage was at the All Tomorrow's parties that we played in England a few years back. The one that was curated by the Melvins. We played, and then a couple bands later, the Melvins closed the show, and we had arranged it where we were going to jam with the Melvins on stage because we cover a Melvin song, a song called "The Bit" off of their Stag album. And the Melvins guys knew that we knew that and have covered it many times live before. So we set up all the drum kits, and Buzzo was on guitar, me and Brent did the vocals, and so we actually jammed with the Melvins on stage at their show. And so that was amazing on its own. But several years back, I actually had a dream in the middle of the night while sleeping that I was in the Melvins as their bass player. And I woke up and I was like, oh, that was I wish it wasn't a dream because it was so great. However, I'm very glad that I did have that dream. And that's one of the actual, one of those moments that actually came to life. And I remember when that song was over, Brent and Brann and myself went backstage and we all just were speechless, high five, hugging, and we're like, man, we can check that off, you know, the things to do in life, that one's done. So that was one of the most emotional moments I've ever had on stage. Shit, man, if 15-year-old Troy could only knew what was going to happen, there would be several just mind-blowing experiences, like you know, doing 9 tours with Slayer, doing 3 complete tours with Iron Maiden, doing 4 or 5 now tours supporting Metallica, getting to meet all of my heroes, all of my idols that got me to this place. Many, many, many mind-blowing moments. So if you were to go back and say, hey dude, you know, I see you picked up a bass at age 14, you should stick with it. Things are going to work out just fine, and you're going to be hanging out with Rob Halford one day, and he's going to know who you are. You don't have to introduce yourself. I'd say, you're fucking crazy. But things like that have happened, and I'm glad that current day Troy cannot go back in time and talk to 15-year-old Troy, because 15-year-old Troy would probably lose his mind and have no sanity and go off the deep end in disbelief.